Tonight, the United States is changing the ability of immigrants to claim asylum based on family ties. Information obtained by the KSAT 12 defenders shows a Bexar County inmate found hanging in her cell over the weekend threatened to commit suicide when she was arrested. The city of San Antonio is considering a new way to make sure longtime residents aren't forced from their homes in gentrified neighborhoods. Thanks for joining us for KSAT News at 9, streaming from right here in the KSAT 12 newsroom. I'm Myra Arthur. The United States is moving to limit asylum claims based on family relations. U.S. Attorney General William Barr has overruled the decision that protected some immigrants seeking asylum based on family ties. People can seek asylum in the U.S. if they can prove a well-founded fear of persecution based on race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or membership of a specific social group. Until now, asylum seekers who were threatened because of something their family members did were eligible. But Barr is arguing that in all family units, it's not necessarily considered a social group for the purposes of asylum. It's unclear how many people will be affected, but advocates say it could be in the thousands. As property taxes continue to rise in San Antonio, the city is researching ways to ease the financial burden for residents in gentrified neighborhoods. City Councilman Manny Pelaez is proposing a possible solution: community land trusts. Sarah Acosta spoke with a nonprofit that explains how community land trusts work and takes us to one neighborhood where people are barely hanging on to their homes.
Yeah, it's sad.
Brian Hill has grown up in the Government Hill neighborhood where 2 generations of his family has lived. He now owns a home in the neighborhood, but says every year has been financially challenging as his property taxes soar.
I'm worried about what's going to happen in the next 5 years if the trend continues.
The Government Hill neighborhood is in the 78208 zip code. The Bexar County Appraisal District listed that this area, that the average property taxes have increased at 184%. From 2014 to 2019. The city is researching ways to help ease that burden so longtime residents like Brian won't be displaced. In June, City Councilman Manny Pelaez requested city staff to research community land trusts.
That's the ideal model.
Leela Powell is the director of Local Initiative Support Corporation San Antonio, a nonprofit that serves low-income neighborhoods. She says community land trusts, or CLTs, can be used as a tool to prevent low-income residents from being displaced from gentrified neighborhoods who can't afford rising property taxes.
What community land trusts do is they put kind of a permanent break on that process because there is no more speculative value in the land.
A CLT is when a nonprofit buys the land or both the land and the house. The nonprofit then leases the home to the low-income resident. In other cases, the family can still own their home. They still pay to lease the land. The leases are long, usually 99 years, to encourage stability and to allow the family to build assets. She says by separating the ownership of land and housing, it prevents the rise in prices and guarantees that housing will remain affordable. Once a CLT is in place, she says the nonprofit pays the property taxes or a portion of them depending on the CLT agreement.
In some cases, affordable housing projects that are owned by nonprofits get 100% property tax exemption. In some cases, they get a 50% property tax exemption. So it can vary from a district to district.
Brian says he is open to the city exploring options like this.
Having options is always a really good idea. It's unfortunate, though, that has to be an option.
Now, Powell says a crucial part of community land trusts is that the resident actually gets to sit on a board that is formed, and that resident gets to decide how the land is managed on that board. Now, the city is just in the researching phases of researching community land trust. Now, once that research is done, the city governance board committee will actually vote on whether to start a pilot program for community land trusts. Myra.
So, Sarah, how about other parts of Texas? Have any other Texas cities used these community land trusts?
Yes, Houston has been using community land trusts for 3 years now, and Austin recently just started using community land trusts to help with affordable housing. Myra.
All right, we'll see what happens here. Thanks, Sarah. We are learning more about a woman's suicide attempt in her cell at the Bexar County Jail. When she was arrested earlier this month on a misdemeanor charge, she said that she was going to kill herself the first chance she got. That's according to an incident report obtained by the KSAT 12 defenders. The 19-year-old was found hanging from a bed sheet over the weekend after nearly 3 weeks in jail. She's on life support tonight. Despite her threat, the woman was not on suicide watch. According to the sheriff's office, she was provided mental health services while at the jail. The woman was initially arrested after allegedly threatening to burn down the house of a relative and kill them. She was charged with making a terroristic threat. Her bail was set at $800, meaning that she could have been released by paying $80. Joint Base San Antonio Lackland is dealing with a mold problem. The base has confirmed that mold was found during dorm room inspections, and now new video shows the efforts being made to clean that up. Video shows mold on pillows, ceilings, beds, even on a pair of shoes. Joint Base San Antonio Lackland says so far it's inspected about 3/4 of its dorms. More than 24 of those had mold. They plan to have the rooms cleaned up by August 8th. About 200 military personnel are being relocated until then. Now let's turn to the 9 at 9 tonight. These are some of the most interesting stories making headlines around the world, around the country, and right here at home. The TSA makes a crazy find in Baltimore, a missile launcher in the luggage of a Texas man. Part of a hotel in Houston collapses, and a dog from Oklahoma missing for a year and a half is found in Texas. Here's tonight's 9 at 9. A woman hit and killed while crossing Broadway near Loop 410 early this morning. A driver called 911 around 5:30 to report that he'd rolled over something on the road. Officers say he later discovered he had hit a woman. He stayed there at the scene until police got there and will not be facing any charges. A fire destroys a 125-year-old Central Texas church this morning. The Church of Visitation near Temple was founded in 1883 and served hundreds of parishioners. We don't yet know what caused that fire. Vietnam customs officers seized 275 pounds of rhino horn hidden in plaster. The 55 pieces were found across 14 separate shipments at Hanoi International Airport. According to the World Wildlife Fund, Vietnam has the world's largest market for illegally trafficked rhino horns. A partial building collapse in Houston sends 9 people to a hospital. Houston's fire department says a top floor of a hotel that's under construction collapsed. That's right after workers poured some concrete. 15 workers had to be rescued. None of the injuries were life-threatening. 40,000 liters of oil spilled into the sea off the coast of a remote Chilean island. A mining company initially reported what happened. The Chilean Navy is now looking into it. TSA officers discover a missile launcher inside of luggage at the Baltimore airport. The passenger was a Texas man who told officers he was a service member returning home from Kuwait. Apparently, he wanted to keep the missile launcher as a souvenir, but that's not allowed. The launcher was given to the Maryland State Fire Marshal for disposal. Just 15 months after opening at the Rim Shopping Center, Paula Deen's Family Kitchen restaurant has suddenly closed. 5 other locations in the U.S., including one in Dallas, are still open. An Oklahoma family reunited with their beloved dog after 18 months apart. The family's 2 German shepherds, Max and Daisy, escaped their backyard in January 2018. Their family searched the streets and asked social media for help. But it wasn't until last week that they got the call they'd been waiting for. A police officer in Palestine found Max. He was identified by his microchip. Max is now back with the family. They hope they'll be able to find their other dog, Daisy, someday soon. A Florida woman wakes up in the middle of the night to find this alligator in her pool. She says she heard sounds coming from the backyard. When she turned on the patio light, she saw the 7-foot gator staring back at her. Wildlife officers were able to safely capture the animal and release it back into the wild. To read more about these 9 stories, go to ksat.com/news@9. Turning to 2020 now, a new poll shows a positive turn in Joe Biden's presidential campaign. Quinnipiac University released a survey today showing a boost for the former vice president in this race. According to that poll, Biden leads the field of Democratic candidates with 34% support. That's up from his 22% earlier this month. 3 other Democrats are also in double digits in that poll. Senator Elizabeth Warren with 15% backing. Senator Kamala Harris has 12%, and Senator Bernie Sanders with 11%. Meanwhile, the second round of debates for the Democratic presidential candidates kicks off tomorrow night. We have a preview of what to expect on our website right now. Just go to ksat.com/news@9 and you can click on this story. Meteorologist Sarah Spivey joins us tonight, and we are back to really
what we're used to.
Yeah,
for July.
We did have a nice break though from the humidity for a while. So were you able to step outside during some of those mornings?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it was gorgeous.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Record-breaking lows with temperatures in the 60s, but you know, today the humidity has returned, and you could really tell the difference from Saturday morning to Sunday morning with that humidity returning. A beautiful sunset though, and a high of 97, only a degree above average, and our morning low only a degree below average. But again, that humidity is back to normal. And across the state of Texas, it was generally quiet. The one exception was North Texas and the Texoma region right along the Red River. That's where a cold front draped this afternoon. However, because we've got a decent high pressure system over the Gulf of Mexico, we're just going to continue to see Gulf humidity work its way back in. That's going to keep that cold front up to the north, and we'll be looking at a pretty humid rest of the week. Now, winds are still pretty strong from the south at up to 20 miles per hour. That's what's keeping the humidity high. Dew points in the 70s. And as we take a look at the day tomorrow, waking up with some morning clouds, 77 degrees, afternoon sunshine, 98. We still have technically not reached 100. But we rely on technicalities when there's no other good news. Now on the Weather 101 question today, it's been a dry July, but we're still not in drought. When was the last time Bexar County went without drought in the month of July? 2009, 2011, 2014, or 2016? Myra, I'll have the answer for you and a look at our current drought monitor just after the break here.
All right, thanks, Sarah.
Yeah.
It is Monday night, which means it's time for an all-new adulting hack. This week, some advice if you're trying to develop a green thumb. We're talking mulch tonight, but not all types are created equal or even serve the same purpose. R.J. Marquez spoke with a conservation specialist at the San Antonio Botanical Garden. He has some tips about picking the right mulch for your planting needs.
All right, guys, time for another Adulting Hacks on KSAT's News at 9. And joining us is Gary Poole with the San Antonio Botanical Gardens. And tonight we're going to be talking about mulch.
In my right hand is, these are pecan shells. The one on my left hand is just shredded hardwoods. It's a more common thing you'll find in bags at the store. But both were once living things, and so we call them organic mulches. Over time, because they are organic, they will break down and they'll add nutrients to the soil. But they're not the only kinds of mulches that you can use. And RJ over here is holding a couple, and one is just basically granite gravel, and the other is a more decorative glass. Because they're inorganic rather than organic, these types of mulches will not break down in your soil, and they'll remain there permanently. The purpose of mulch, as most viewers probably know, is to retain moisture in the soil. When you water your lawn, especially on a summer day, and if we're talking about summers in Texas, the rate of evaporation can be really severe. So it's very important to have mulch in your bedded plants. And I would say 2 to 3 inches is best.
Any difference in what these are all used for?
Both the pecan shells and the glass are more decorative types of mulches. And so if you have something that you want to make into that kind of feature, then you should probably go with a route like that. They're also more expensive. The granite and the shredded hardwoods, these are both relatively cheap. They're not particularly pretty, but they do the job. This mulch, obviously, it can't be used on lawns, but it can be used on bedded plants. And what I would always recommend is that you bury like a soaker hose underneath, or drip irrigation underneath that mulch. And you will find that if you do that, you can just water it whenever whenever the plants look a little droopy, put some water on there. You can buy mulches that are like lava rock, that are black or dark gray. I would shy away from that in Texas because, as most of us know, black objects absorb more heat and become hotter. So if you've got that on your soil and you're trying to keep moisture in your soil, it's kind of counterproductive.
Adulting Hacks, just one of the series we feature exclusively here on the News at 9. Here's a look at some of the others we have. Be sure to tune in tomorrow night for a special hour-long edition of KSAT News at 9. We'll have a consumer story from our consumer series, Money It's Personal, plus an all-new Spree Thoughts. A local veterinarian is warning people to be on the lookout for a flea-borne bacterial disease that put her in the hospital. Murine typhus is transmitted by infected fleas, which could be catching a ride on your pets or other animals. It's been on the rise in Bexar County the past few years now, with 101 cases last year, 56 so far this year. Dr. Olga Jaimes believes that she and one of her vet techs were exposed to the disease at their clinic. She says pet owners can help prevent the spread of the disease by keeping their pets flea-free with medication from their vets. We have more information on this disease and what to look for on our website. You can find that at KSAT.com. A lot more ahead on KSAT News at 9 tonight, including scientists releasing a list of the most common causes of traumatic brain injuries in children and teens. Plus, community activists are applauding the temporary closure of an East Side convenience store that's been a long-time magnet for crime. We'll tell you what's being done about bringing down illegal activity around that store after the break.
Bro. Is this?
Aziz Oriental Rug and Porch would like to thank San Antonio for 30 years of business. And now it's time to retire, and that means we are having the biggest sale in our store's history. We are taking up to 80% off everything in our store, every style, color, shape, and size. After traveling all over the world, we have developed a remarkable and elegant collection of traditional and contemporary style Oriental rugs. Don't miss out on this once-in-a-lifetime deal. Visit our showroom today while inventory lasts at 2102 North Loop, 1604 West.
Have you been noticing dragging doors in your home, cracks in your walls, or cracks in your floor tiles? This could be signs your foundation is sinking. Call the company you can trust, Baird Foundation Repair. Their certified specialists will design a plan to bring your home back into good shape, all backed by a lifetime transferable warranty. Let Baird help you restore value to your most important investment. Call Baird Foundation Repair today. Doing things right the first time, a family tradition.
Do you suffer from knee pain? Is this pain preventing you from enjoying your life? Arthritis Relief Centers can help with fast, non-surgical options. Our physicians can provide comfortable pain relief using guided imaging with an FDA-approved solution.
I'm into full motion, no pain, walking, everything just back normal like it used to be. Life is great.
These treatments, supported by medical research, are covered by most insurance, including Medicare. Get the relief you deserve at Arthritis Relief Centers.
An East Side convenience store that's made headlines for years for being the site of crime is closed tonight. The owner shut it down voluntarily. Hayes Food Mart on the corner of North New Braunfels and East Houston is now off limits as part of a compliance agreement between the city and the owner. The goal is to bring down crime. The store will be closed for 9 months with a review after 6 months. The owner has also agreed to enhance lighting and surveillance there. Eastside residents and activists also want the store to close earlier in the evening. It used to be open 24 hours a day.
Because it's in those hours, those wee hours is when a lot of the criminal activity takes place.
According to the city, Hayes Food Mart was the scene of more than 900 service calls by San Antonio police over the last 4.5 years. Those calls include 27 shootings and 80 narcotics violations. Let's turn now to some of the biggest stories people are talking about around America tonight. We are learning more about a deadly shooting at a Northern California food festival. A 6-year-old boy, a 13-year-old girl, and a man in his 20s were all killed when a gunman opened fire with an AK-47 style rifle. That weapon was purchased legally by the gunman earlier this month in Nevada. Investigators still have not released a motive for this shooting, but they did find an Instagram post under the gunman's name that showed a picture of the event shortly before the shooting. That account also mentioned a white supremacist book. Most brain injuries in infants to 19-year-olds can be blamed on floors, beds, football, stairs, and bicycles. That's according to a new study. The study looked at 4.1 million non-fatal traumatic brain injuries in children and teens between 2010 and 2013. Beds were the main cause among infants and toddlers. Injuries for older children and teens were from sports and recreation. The U.S. measles outbreak is not slowing down. The number of cases now 1,164. That's according to the CDC. That's an increase of 16 cases from the previous week. All right, we got some Weather 101 trivia.
Myra's been thinking about her answer for the last several minutes.
From the moment you asked.
When was the last time in July that we went without drought?
Okay, I'm torn here, but I'm going to go C, 2014.
You know what? Close. D. Just
All
one
right.
down. All right. In 2016, we actually didn't go without drought in the month of July. So it's not uncommon, and this month we've gone without drought as well. But as far as the state goes, only 2% of the state is under drought conditions. And the reason for this was a very beneficial springtime for us. This compared to a year ago when 60% of the state was experiencing drought conditions. Just out in Del Rio, extreme drought up near Dallas-Fort Worth and Lubbock and Amarillo. So again, we're doing okay, and the aquifer is about 14 feet above average, but we still really could use the rain. And this month has been dry. Only 3 days of measurable rainfall, 4 if you include a trace on the 11th on a Thursday. So we are about 2.5 inches nearly below average. And as far as June and May goes, those were beneficial months, almost 9 inches of rain. So it is a little bit unfortunate that we're seeing a dry July come to an end. And as you look at the next 7 days, it's going to stay dry too. A couple of coastal showers possible throughout the rest of the week, but here in San Antonio, we will likely stay dry with temperatures close to 100 degrees every day.
All right, thanks, Sarah. You've probably heard recent news reports about people getting sick from E. coli found in lettuce. Well, that's why food experts at Consumer Reports decided to test some leafy greens. Consumer Reports tested 284 samples of fresh greens. They didn't find E. coli, but 6 of those samples were tainted with listeria, that is a potentially deadly bacteria. The tainted samples include red and green leaf lettuce, spinach, and kale. It's important to note that listeria cannot be readily washed off with just water. Not everyone exposed to listeria does get sick. Some people are more vulnerable, though, including pregnant women, infants, and anyone with a compromised immune system. Food safety experts advise you eat leafy greens soon after you buy them before bacteria has a chance to multiply. Let's go to KSAT.com right now to find out what is trending on this Monday night with Ivan Herrera.
Myra, thank you for having me. All right, 3 great trending stories for you today. The first one is about Miss Dolly Parton, who is a national treasure, as you
Agreed.
know. So when she's in the room, you definitely know it. But this time, she managed to pull the ultimate surprise at the Newport Folk Festival in Rhode Island.
Oh, I bet that was awesome for fans.
So singer Brandy Carlisle, who curated this show, she kept the performance secret until Dolly actually took to the stage, and everybody was, in awe. She sang some of our favorites.
Yeah.
So I don't know which one's your favorite, but mine is definitely Jolene. She sang that.
Oh.
And she also sang, God, what's the one that
I Will Always Love You.
Yes, that's
I love that.
God, I
Let's
love
just
that one
talk
too.
about Dolly.
The
for
whole-
rest
the
of
whole
trend.
thing. Let's
We don't
do
need
it.
3 trending
Yes.
stories. We'll just talk about Dolly.
I love Jolene. Just in general, the whole album is great. But yes, more about that appearance on KSAT.com. Definitely worth the read.
Okay,
I promise.
fine. We'll move on if
All
you're
right.
making me.
So this next one is for Disney lovers. The company has set a record for the highest grossing studio ever this year.
Does this surprise you?
It doesn't. It
Yeah,
doesn't.
me either.
Let me tell you how much they've made this year. Just
Okay.
this year, we're almost in August, but they've made $7.6 billion.
Wow.
To give you some perspective, the city of San Antonio runs at $2.5 billion budget, so it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So some of those films that made more than $1 billion are Captain Marvel, The Avengers Endgame, and the new Aladdin movie. And the ones getting pretty close to there, Toy Story 4 and The Lion King, which made more than $900 million. They're already going to hit that $1 billion mark.
And now Disney owns all the Star Wars stuff.
Yes,
So
Star
between
Wars.
Star Wars
Marvel.
and Marvel.
And their animation.
Right
and
there you
Pixar.
go.
You got all the money. So more about that on KSAT.com.
Okay.
And all those movies that are going to be coming out for the rest of the year.
Oh, nice.
So a lot of stuff on there. So this last one is about the semi-annual Brews and Blooms event at the San Antonio Botanical Gardens. It's a semi-annual event, so it happens twice a year. This one's happening September 14th. But through Thursday, you can get special early bird prices, which is a really good deal.
I have never been to this event, and I
haven't
always see
either.
pictures after the fact
They
and
look
think
so
it
fun.
looks really
Yes,
neat.
definitely. So they're actually going to be showcasing 40 local and regional craft breweries. So
Wow,
a
that's
lot
a lot.
of beer to try out. And they're also going to have food trucks to score some grub, as you know. So more about that event on KSAT.com, especially pricing for this early bird.
For
You
all
want to
the
catch it
tickets.
before Thursday.
Okay.
Thank you for having me,
Awesome.
Myra.
Thanks, Ivan. We'll be right back.
Bank for a cause today with a mortgage checking account from Broadway Bank. Together, we are making a difference.
Hey son, what are you drawing?
How Mom and the Bible saved the day. Mommy saw how the sink had a leak. The room was filled with water, an octopus, and even a whale. She flew over the whale and took the phone away and called the Bible boys. They came right over and fixed the leak.
So where's the whale now?
Watching TV.
Sure. Hey!
Don't look at me. The whale did it.
Be your hero. Call the Bar Boys for your plumbing, air conditioning, and heating needs.
15 times a day he would have a fit.
Prior to brain balance, my son was very much unable to focus.
Diagnosed with ADHD or a processing problem? Discover Brain Balance. Brain Balance delivers on the promise of a better life for your child and your family.
As we went through our first month, huge things started to happen.
There was major growth in her fine motor skills.
It's been an amazing transformation.
Give your child the foundation they need to succeed in school. Call Brain Balance today.
Come experience the All Smiles difference. Our friendly, family-owned practice and our highly trained dental team always prioritize your comfort and needs. Call now and ask us how you can qualify for our Whitening for Life program. Visit us at All Smiles today.
That is all our time tonight. You can catch a special hour-long edition of KSAT News at 9 tomorrow right here and also on KSAT 12. Have a great night. We'll see you then.